Hi everyone, welcome back to the Friend in the Room podcast. I am your host Keziah, once again behind the mic. This is technically meant to be episode 4, but there's a reason for that. I recorded a whole episode about 9 or 10 days ago and I deleted it. I deleted all the footage, all the audio, I deleted everything. And you know why? Because it didn't feel like my best work. And when I say my best work, I mean work that I felt actually convicted to speak about. You know, sometimes you feel like you should do something, but your emotions and your ego tell you to do otherwise, and then you end up regretting it. That's kind of what happened. I recorded an episode. Reasoning behind it was good. I had good intentions, but A, I did not consult with God about it. B, I didn't meditate about it. 3, I didn't journal about it. So there was no cohesive structure to what I was saying, and it was all coming from an emotion that was triggered in me based on previous events that had happened a couple days before. And let me not, enough with the vagueness. I'm just going to put my mic down and we'll get straight into it. It actually leads into what I want to speak about today, because I'm going to be speaking about pretty much the exact same thing, but from a completely different lens, a lens that is suitable for this podcast, a lens that is something I meditated on and prayed about and made sense to me, and something that's actually going to be impactful for you guys, because I'll be honest, I was doing a lot of trauma dumping, and trauma dumping is not conducive to a safe and happy environment such as a friend in the room. Yes, friendship involves vulnerability. It involves talking about your traumas and your past and your hurt and your pain. But at the end of the day, while I do want to be a friend to you and I do want to feel like I'm giving you company in the room, 9 times out of 10, it's a one-way conversation. I'm speaking to you. You're not speaking back to me. So you can't comfort me in what I'm saying, and you can't affirm me in my emotions. I am the one doing the affirming. That is the role that I play here. So allow me to do so while trying to find a balance between being useful and being vulnerable, because I've struggled with that my entire life, and I'll get into it now. Let me put this flipping mic down though. Okay, my mic is down. I'm ready to talk. Basically, last week, the episode was supposed to be about my experiences with friendship and betrayal, abandonment, and most importantly, my episode centered living an apology-less life, because that is something that I think I have lived. I have a lot of situations and circumstances where I've had to develop closure. I've had to develop closure for myself in order to get to sleep at night without crying. Not to get all dramatic on you, but I'm sure a lot of you can relate. But the thing is, with the episode, it was less about the lesson that I learned and less about my personal growth, and it was more just me dumping on y'all and complaining, and it was just a big cloud of negative energy. And even, you know what, even before I even sat down on the mic, I did consult with God. I said, I have 2 things I want to speak about here. There's this topic here about, my childhood and my past experiences, and then there's another topic that I still want to delve further into so that I can speak about it properly, and you'll hear about it in a future episode. But my reasoning was, because I haven't developed the other topic yet, let me just speak about this. I really want to speak about this. But there was a little nagging feeling in the back of my head. There was a noise in the back of my head saying that this also was not ready to be spoken about, because I'm speaking not because this was supposed to be an episode of mine, but because I was triggered by something that happened during that week, a little altercation that happened that week, and it just brought up a lot of past emotions, and it made me start stringing 2 and 2 together, and that's where the term apologyless life, quote unquote, even derived from. But that idea in itself was still new, it was still underdeveloped, and I knew that I had to wait it out. I knew that I should not have recorded. And I knew it while I was recording. I actually recorded it twice. So I spent almost 3 hours behind the mic when I was speaking. And you know what? I feel like when you get convictions about things, like it manifests physically. I was stuttering. I wish I kept some of the footage. Like, you could literally see me sitting there like, do I want to keep going? Do I want to keep going? I don't want to keep going, but I've already started, so I gotta keep going. You could just tell that my heart wasn't fully in it, because irrespective of my circumstances, I'm not someone who lets them define me. And I'm an extremely optimistic person. I think my excuse, quote unquote, for continuing on with the episode and thinking that I should post it is because, there's a new wave of vulnerability on the internet right now where they say that you should almost feel scared or skeptical to post your art and your craft because that's your most vulnerable, raw, and authentic work that you're putting out there. So I was like, wow, this is raw, this is authentic shit. Like, this is gonna be real beneficial. Someone's gonna listen to this and really relate. But they relate with the feeling, and they enrobe themselves with the negativity of what I'm speaking about. And then what? What are they going home with? What message are they taking home? Because I finished the episode with no real solution. It literally just felt like I was sitting in front of my therapist and talking about my childhood and then wrapping it up in a cute little bow and saying, thanks for listening, goodbye. And you're supposed to sit with all those emotions that are not yours, and they're not you as a listener's responsibility to deal with. As an amalgamation of all of the things you have also gone through, you then have to carry my load with no solution, no humor, no heartwarming ending, no relatability near the end, no conclusion, just ranting and vibes. That ain't never gonna work out. Even if I did post it against my own conviction, against my own common sense and better thinking, it would not have been productive. And that is an episode that is likened to my old content before I changed my podcast and rebranded it. So no, that got deleted. I literally woke up this morning and said, no, it's enough. Because, sorry, even me, I get so excited to record my podcast episodes that I start editing them the night of or the morning of. I'm excited to go back and listen to how my thoughts came together. Because obviously when you speak, it's a bit of a blur. I'm not going to remember what I've said right now in about 30 minutes. So I'm excited to listen back to it tomorrow, if it makes sense. But I didn't even touch that footage. I didn't watch it. I actually felt secondhand embarrassment to even look at it. And at first I thought it's because I was feeling, Scarlett, a bit embarrassed for opening up. But no, I knew deep down it's because I was embarrassed, because that is not my standard of work. And that is not the standard I want to hold for myself. And it's not the energy that I want to produce and distribute to my listeners. I can say that I have gone through a lot of things in relation to abandonment, in relation to being misunderstood, in relation to extending myself to people who don't extend themselves back, unrequited love, unreciprocated friendship, you name it. I've experienced it. I've lived it multiple times. But do you want to know what the common denominator between all of that is, that I do not disclose in my previous video that I did not post? I survived. And not only did I survive, I have thrived from it. And not only have I thrived from it, I have developed a myriad of essential tools that have made me a better person, have made me the most empathetic, purest, most understanding person. It's made me the trusted adult in every single friend group, in every single workplace that I walk into, every single stranger that spills their entire life story to me when they've never met me before in my life. It's because of the energy that I have cultivated out of my trauma. I grew a rose out of the darkness, and that is not something that many people can testify to, and it is a blessing to be able to live through that trauma and still be a better person than I was yesterday. And that is the kind of thing that needs to be spoken about more, because I think that vengeance is very common in our generation now. And it's not vengeance in the sense of getting back at that person through physical, tangible actions. It's more so vengeance in the person that you become in spite of those people. Let me explain. We'll take a basic term, revenge body, right? Revenge body is when you go through a breakup and then you decide to go put on weight if you're underweight, or lose weight if you're overweight, and just create a dream body that the other person's never going to touch, and they can look but they can't touch, and they can think that they missed out, and you're thinking, oh yeah, I did that. But on the surface, that's what it looks like. And then on the, the dermis of it all, the bottom layer of that action is still a deep resentment for yourself because you went through that journey in spite of another person. And so that other person still has an emotional chokehold over you. And they still have the ability to dictate how you live your life and the actions that you take in your life. And yes, two things can be true at the same time. And there's multiple truths where, you might want to just get healthier. You might want to, gain some independence. I mean, after my breakup, I lost weight too. It's visible in my face and in my arms. Hee. But this is no revenge body. I did this because my health was out of control and I needed to take reins on it. And technically I started this journey before the breakup even happened. So do with that information what you will. The point of what I'm saying is some people's vengeance comes in the form of a new identity that is still formed on the foundations of that person's actions. And I think that one thing that we could probably learn and adopt in our day-to-day life is to view our past experiences, the painful ones, and to view the people that inflicted such pain onto us as a chapter that can be closed so that another one can open. And I know that sounds very cliche, but I think a lot of people still have that gray area between the ending of one season and the beginning of another. They still kind of bring elements of their old season into their new one. So the hatred and the pain and the desire to get closure that you didn't get, all of those feelings amalgamate into the foundations of your so-called best self, who is everything that your former self wasn't. And in some aspects that does work. For some people, that's how they move on. That's how they get on to the next stage of their life. But I think there's a healthier way to go about it. And I think indirectly as a child, it's like I almost sort of knew that and I had this deep knowing that using my anger and indignance from the things that I experienced and the bullying and the exclusion and the rejection that I experienced was not going to be useful or conducive to cultivating the personality that I have now. So I'll get into that. And you know what, before we get into it, let me actually read something from the Bible, okay? Let me pull up the Bible. Like I told you guys in my first episode, or my rebrand alert episode, I pull from all different texts and all different sources, and I like to pull from the Bible a lot because, when you read the Bible with a renewed mind, as an adult, you pick up so many gems, dude. There's so much that I'm figuring out from here, and it's beautiful. We're gonna pull from the book of James. We're gonna pull from the very first chapter, literally first sentence. He's spitting. Let me grab my Bible. I'll read it, and hopefully you guys kind of feel something. This is James chapter 1, verse 2-4. Okay. Consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance, and let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. Let's break that down step by step, right? Consider it all joy. Joy is happiness, it's gratitude, it's the purest and most concise way to describe optimism. What are we considering positive or joyful? The trials that we experience. Now, I'm going to make this very specific and clear. We are not talking about every single difficult thing that has happened to you in your life. I'm speaking more about the juvenile experiences, and I call them juvenile because in the grand scheme of things, a friendship breakup or a relationship ending is not the biggest it's not the biggest problem in the world, because you are able to move on from things like that, especially if the relationship was not abusive in any way, shape, or form. Nonetheless, difficult to go through, and it's a trial, nonetheless. But I think what I did a lot in my teen years, which caused me an immense amount of pain and an immense amount of unnecessary negativity and skepticism of the human race, was to take every single friendship breakup that has happened and compound it into, I must just be so unlucky, and I must be so unlucky in friendship, and woe is me, why can't people just stick around for more than a year? Because, fun fact, I've never had, I can count on one hand the amount of friends I've had for more than 5 years, but other than that, in every single year of primary school, secondary school, and my undergraduate and university, I've experienced some sort of friendship breakup or friendship ending or relationship breakup. And when you build that up and you compound them and then you hold them onto you like an armor that is like, oh, don't touch, temporary friendships only, it becomes your whole personality. And that doesn't mean I was going around telling people, oh my gosh, look at me, I have no friends, I have no friends. But it just means that like I'm almost sort of premeditating the ending of every new friendship and every new encounter that I come across. And that was not helpful. It was not healthy. And in the same breath, I still, at the age of 20, almost 23, even though I had that period of time in my teen years where I was very negative and I viewed my trauma and my heartbreak as a flaw, I still see it as an extreme strength because, and not just a strength, I see it as a privilege to have gone through that enough times and to study people and have the opportunity to understand and learn the mind of people who have the capabilities of hurting people like that. Because I can then know never to treat anyone the way I've been treated. I can put my hand on my heart and say that I've never made anybody feel the way that certain people have made me feel. I can attest and testify to the fact that I don't think I've ever made anyone cry themselves to sleep or self-soothe themselves to sleep or write in their journal why they live an apologyless life. Because it's a very dramatic statement to make. But when you go through these things time and time again, sometimes you actually want to give them a label and you want to give them a name and you want to personify it. That was my problem. I think I'm someone who intellectualizes my emotions and my experiences, which is good because it means I'm able to verbalize them and vocalize them and articulate them on the mic for you to understand and hopefully empathize and maybe even find ways to articulate what you may be thinking and your point of view. But it can be very detrimental where I'm personifying these big balls of negative energy and giving them power and giving them existence and giving them the platform to reign over my life and to dictate how I view people and to dictate how I talk to people, to text and delete in order to not sound like too much of a beg so that they can't hold it over my head when they eventually do me dirty, which I was predicting every single time. And maybe indirectly I was almost manifesting all of these friendship breakups because I was just compounding them for so many years, like I said. But I think when you remove the label off of these situations and just view them as exactly what they are, situations, periodical, temporary experiences that contribute to certain chapters of your life and have also, in that same breath, aside from being difficult and hard and traumatizing, gave you probably the greatest gift that you could ever have, and that is deep set empathy. Guys, I have learned so much from studying people like this and experiencing people like this, and it has made me a better person. It really has. I think people in my real life can attest to this. I have become the trusted adult. I think I said this at the start of the podcast. I don't remember. I don't know how this edit is gonna go. But I am the trusted adult, and not without any reason. I don't give myself this title. This happens multiple times. Some people say that, oh, it's because when you go through too much trauma, you become older in the brain, blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. If that's the case, okay, cool. Yeah, right, okay. But that doesn't mean it's not a great tool to have. I'm very clued in for my age because I've experienced a lot of people in the short space of time that I've lived. I know when someone is looking a certain way or they're acting a certain way or they're shifting a certain way, it means they're feeling excluded, or it feels like they have something to say but they're trying to find the space in the conversation to say it. I will shush the room and be like, what are you trying to say? If I see someone chatting rubbish about someone else and I'm listening to the kind of words that they're saying and I'm realizing that it's a projection, instead of going and gossiping about it like, oh, did you hear that this person said this about that? I would usually be the one to confront the person directly and be like, why did you say it in that way? Is there a reason that you feel this type of way towards this person? And some people might say that, oh, don't be a busybody, don't be a middleman. I'm definitely not. I know when to, that's another thing. I know how to pick my battles, because unfortunately, battles pick me. No shade, no shade. Battles have picked me. But in that same breath, I feel like I'm very good at reading a room and knowing how to harmonize it. And I don't think I would have understood that or gotten to that level of understanding and that level that my character, my aura literally, no, aura's cringe, yuck, ew. Like my presence literally speaks for itself. And I feel like a lot of us seasoned individuals, people who have gone through a lot of heartbreak and heartache in their lives, are seasoned individuals. But I think a lot of us, if you're listening to this and you're a seasoned individual, you'll understand there's certain things that we clock that other people just will never clock because they've never had to. They've never had to understand. They never had to experience those things. But nonetheless, I have zero regrets. And that's why, like it says in James, consider it all joy. Even in the midst of it, guys, if you're in the midst of a friendship breakup, if you're in the midst of an actual breakup, if you're in the midst of a friendship group or workplace or a environment where you are feeling deeply excluded, misunderstood, and mistreated, please observe yourself closely and observe the growth that you are experiencing between this rock and this hard place. Because one thing about situations, they are temporary, but the everlasting effects of them are permanent. And you actually have the opportunity to play a role in curating the tools that you extract from this situation. You can be in a really hard situation and you can understand, hold on, there's noise in the background and it's pissing me off. I can't wait to live alone. But yeah, like I said, consider it all joy, because you are under construction right now. And like I said, when the situation ends and those people are, by God's grace, gone from your life and you've escaped that hellhole that you are in, what do you have to show for it? That doesn't mean you have to go and start grinding like, oh yeah, I'm going to start learning how to do this. I'm going to start reading people this way so that when I'm out of this situation, I'll know how to read them. But what it says here is the testing of your faith produces endurance. If we take it out of biblical context and we just look at this from a secular point of view, because not everyone is Christian, not everyone reads the Bible, the testing of your character produces endurance. The testing of your patience produces endurance. The testing of your empathy produces endurance. Every single instance that you experience difficulty, every single instance that you experience being misunderstood, exclusion, alienation, you are fine-tuning your mental strength and you're fine-tuning your ability to surpass the minds of the people who try to get at you intellectually, spiritually, emotionally. You're becoming a better person than these people could ever be. And you'll eventually get to a point, and this is a point that I've gotten to in my life, where you will still be able to be your authentic self. You don't have to restrict. This is the thing as well, like when you go through these situations, a lot of people then start shrinking themselves because they think that they are the problem, and they forget that external circumstances are not a part of, and they cannot dictate or fluctuate the ratio of your, they can't alter the concentration of your character. They can't alter your internal beliefs and internal system. So to think that you have to shrink yourself in order to survive future external circumstances is doing you a great disservice, because as you shrink yourself, you're also shrinking the tools that you can use to tackle such situations. As you shrink, like for me, for example, when I would go through a friendship heartache, I would reduce my ability to be vulnerable, and I would constrict and overthink and text and then delete certain parts of the text so that I sound a bit more nonchalant, so that they cannot use my kindness or my bubbliness to their advantage and, make me look like a dickhead at the end of it. But what happened? I still got caught off guard, because while you're shrinking, you're not your chalance, and you're shrinking your excitement and your joy and your whimsy. You're also shrinking your emotional intelligence. You're shrinking your standards. You're shrinking your belief that you actually can be all of those things, and people can still do you dirty, and you can still be just fine. Like, no aspect of your internal personality has to change just because somebody in your life did. And that's where I'm at right now. Like, I keep all the whimsy, I keep all the fun, I do it. I say whatever I want, I say whatever I feel. I'll say I love you after meeting a friend in 2 days. I'll be like, I love you so much, you're one of the greatest people I've ever met. And tomorrow they could actually wake up and say, I hate you. That's fine, you hate me, but I loved you, and I loved you because I love myself. So that's not going to change. If you hate me now, that's cool. Go about your life and go love the next person. Just because you're gone doesn't mean any part of me is gone with you, because I never let you get any of that, because you can't even get in there. You physically cannot alter what's going on in here. You just get the privilege of experiencing the parts that I choose to share, and you shouldn't have to restrict the amount that you share just because people are crazy, and just because we live in a world of takers. We live in a world where the devil and the evil spirits that exist come to steal, kill, and destroy. That's their whole purpose. A bad person is always going to be a bad person, and their goal is always to destroy whatever is in their path. If you happen to be in their path, you better take that endurance that came from your previous trials and difficulties and use it to fortify a sense of self that is so strong and irrefutable that it doesn't matter what anybody can say to you. You are never gonna change. No aspect of who you are is ever gonna change. As for me, I'm a child of God. God loves me. God's got my back. If God's got my back, what can you do to me? Like, who are you? You can't chat to me. You actually can't. There's nothing any man can say and then switch up on me multiple months, years, decades later. That'll change who I am. If I wake up today and I meet my husband tomorrow and we have a beautiful life, and he wakes up one day and says, nah, I'm good. Okay. Okay. And I know some people are saying, oh, you've never, just wait till it happens. God forbid. What do you mean wait till it happens? It's not going to happen with the God I serve. Inshallah, it will not happen. But if it does, what makes you think that I'm going to look at myself different? With all the work that I've put in, with all the things that I've been through, all the tools that I've built, you think I'm the problem? You think I'm the problem? It can only be you. And whatever, call me narcissistic, call me delusional, all you want. I know the truth, and I know myself, and I know what I've been through. Look at what it says here. Like, bro, let endurance have its perfect result, so that you being yourself listening, me who is existing, who is speaking to you, be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. When you endure trials, when you endure difficulty, and you learn from it, and you remind yourself that the only variable that exists, junior cert maths, junior cert science, hey, I'm getting flashbacks. The only variable that exists in the equation, that is relationships with other human beings, is the other human being. The constant is you. You don't change. Your love for yourself doesn't change. Your perception of yourself shouldn't change. The older you get and the more that prefrontal cortex gets bigger and develops, the more your stances on certain topics and certain standards for yourself don't change. So if the variable changes, that's fine. The constant remains the same though. The constant is perfect and complete and lacking in nothing. You're perfect, you're complete, you're lacking in nothing. There is nothing that anyone can do that will change that. And if you are the villain though, if you're the villain, if you were out here bullying people in primary school, that's crazy work. How are you 10 years old and you have the mind of a bully? That's actually a skill issue, but I won't judge, right? You too can also use that situation and grow and change for the better, so that in future circumstances you know how to act. However, I'm not going to sit here and say that this message is to further fuel some evil psychotic person's delusions that they can do no wrong when they are in fact the wrong. They are the wrong that is being done. Don't take my words and enjoy them and revel in them. I'm not talking to you. Away from me, Satan. I'm not talking to you, okay? I'm talking to the people that have been through some serious stuff. Why am I caressing my bed? Oh, yo, I'm so embarrassing sometimes. I just be doing things. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like that is really the message that I had. I don't really have anything else to say. This is going to be really a short episode. I just needed to come on here and rectify myself, even though there's nothing to rectify, because the thing that I'm rectifying is disintegrated into the nothingness that is the cloud, and it's never going to see the light of day. But I think it's also a lesson in, while what I've said and the whole message about, the constant variable, blah, 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 that's very important. But I think another thing is to listen to your convictions, because I'm so glad and I feel so much more excited to edit this video than I did with the other one. And I think this is much more aligned with the messages that I am trying to put out on this podcast. I want to be educational and I want to remain that way. And while whole friend in the room thing is about getting to know me and getting to understand me, you guys will get to understand me all in due time. As it says in Ecclesiastes, God makes everything perfect in his own time. There is a time for everything. And when the time comes for me to be excessively vulnerable and damn near trauma dump, I will be here. But I'll also be here with a solution to said trauma dumping. But even then, even in that same breath, I don't think I will ever trauma dump on you guys. I don't think I could do that to you. Oh, my Shaylas, you guys are so cute. So cute. I don't want to do anything that would make your day worse than it may already be, because that is not my purpose here, okay? If I need to trauma dump, I'll go talk to my therapist. If I need to trauma dump, I got my journal. I've got the Bible. That's really all I need. I don't need to come and spill to you guys. What can you even do behind the screen like that? What can you come to my house and kiss my forehead? No, you can't. No, you can't. Well, those who know me in person, you could, but don't do that. Like, catch you near my forehead. Okay, you know what? This is my sign. I need to wrap this up. I need to wrap this up expeditiously. Nurse, she's out again. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I don't really know what I'm even going to title this yet, but I'm rectifying what I spoke about, because I feel like when things are rooted in the word of God, for me, it makes it so much clearer, and I find it so much easier to articulate myself, because as a human being, a mere mortal, I don't have all the answers. And I'm also just a girl. Like, I'm in my early 20s. I really am just figuring it all out. As they say in the coming of age movies, I really am just figuring out my 20s, y'all. I really am. I'm navigating my 20s. I'm glad you guys get to see me do it in real time. But there's levels to this, and I won't be doing that again. I tried it. I realized it didn't work. And I can go to bed knowing that I tried. I can sleep at night. And I know where to go moving forward. And I have a lot of different topics that I'm excited to speak about. But like I said, I need to delve into them more. I need to give them the time that they deserve, so that I'm coming at you guys, not just with facts. Like, I don't want to just spam percentages and statistics at you. I want this to be cohesive. I want this to be understanding. I want this to be a conversation that, obviously you're talking back at me, but I cannot hear you. If you're saying anything, if you're saying, Keziah, you look so thank you. Keziah, you look so tantalizing, thank you. See, these are the kind of conversations we should be having. Let's keep having those. And the other ones about, emotions and stuff too, and understanding and seeing yourself in me and resonating with things that I say. I guess you can do all that as well if you feel like it. But yeah, I'm gonna close my Bible. We're gonna wrap up this episode. Just something to wrap it up. I went to my young adults church meeting today, and one thing that one of the guys said near the end is, every single negative thought you've ever had about yourself, there are 1,000 more positive thoughts that were prophesied and spoken onto your life before you were even born. In our mindset, that would be, God, breathing life into us and, creating us before we were even conceived. But on a more secular, on earth sense, with every single negative experience that you've been through, or every single negative thing that has ever been said to you, to your face or behind your back, there's 1,000 more positive things that have been said to you or behind your back, from people that know you, from strangers who've complimented you, from people who've looked at you in awe and never had the guts to say it to your face, the people's lives that you have influenced without even realizing, the little smiles that you give someone in the hallway, your dog that you take care of, your cat that you take care of, that goldfish that you overfeed, whether it's being translated through English or whatever language you may speak, or whether it's translated simply through emotion and energy, you are putting out so much good and you have impacted this world in so many beautiful ways. And it would be a shame for that all to be drowned out by one idiot person that decided to make your life a living hell for that period of time. But like I said throughout this entire podcast, that period of time is nothing but a period of time. It is transient. And it has ended, and you will move out of this and you will move into the next chapter with an even broader mind and an even more well-rounded and equipped sense of self that will be able to tackle and endure whatever it is that you may go through, because obviously the human journey is excruciating and it's a never-ending cycle of difficult things that we endure. But if we remember that the things that we go through are the variables and our endurance is the constant, we remain, like it says in the Bible, perfect, complete, and lacking in nothing. And that is everything that you are, and so much more. And if no one ever told you that, let me be the first to tell you. Perfect, complete, lacking in nothing. Please take that with you this week. And with that concludes today's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to episode 3 of the Friend in the Room podcast. I've been your host, Keziah, as always, and I will catch you in the next episode. Okay? Bye.